When I was just a kid on summer holiday staying at my grandma's house, I remember my first time properly seeing an ant colony. Seeing hundreds of tiny creatures going about their little tasks in such an organized fashion created a flowing pattern that mesmerized me for hours. Like seriously, I could just stare at these ants from morning till evening. I know, right? The most popular kid in school right here. But eventually, wanting to learn where these strange little creatures were coming from, I followed the trail of ants to a small mound. And as a kid, there was so much wonder and mystery behind that mound. What was in the mound? Was something controlling all these creatures? Where are they all coming from? It was this curiosity that led me to try to uncover the mysteries that lay in that mound, using just a stick and of course my bare hands. I was a stupid fucking kid, but decades later, with a painful memory I will never forget, I still find pleasure in itching that childlike curiosity of exploration and learning about a world beyond my understanding. It's something which I think at some level we never really grow out of, and recently there have been two anime that have been able to evoke this childlike wonder of exploration and discovery. One being last season's Made in Abyss, and the other being the ancient Magus Bride, which I'll be focusing on today, but I will be sprinkling a bit of Made in Abyss here and there. Magus Bride is in my opinion one of the best shows airing this season that stood out immediately from episode 1. The first thing that caught my attention was the story of an old aristocratic mage putting down 5 million quid for a 15-year-old teenage slave, who he then reveals he'll be grooming as her bone daddy to be an apprentice and eventual wife, to which I thought, alright, that's a bit weird. But then again, we live in a fandom where we can casually call each other a pedo for watching Eromanga Sensei before going about our day, so it's not something I paid much mind to. As the second thing that God, we are a little bit weird, aren't we? As the second thing that stuck with me was the beautiful world which they inhabit, filled with mystique and wonder, which is what I'm here to discuss, and not the questionable Stockholm Syndrome-esque relationship shared by our main duo, which someone else can unpack. Oh yeah, that's right. Who's your bone daddy? The world that Elias resides in, this magical world of dragons, fairies and phenomenon that induce that sense of awe and wonder, which comes with living in this enormous place of mysteries, beauties and terrors. These shows make a world so compelling that it's just a joy to inhabit and explore them, from a third-person perspective viewing it at least. And in this time of the same old tiresome JRPGs, MMO, fantasy settings. Did someone say transported to a fantasy world? Koro Yamazaki, the original mangaka, has managed to craft a world that not only feels fresh but somewhat familiar too, that we actually want to explore and learn more of. But how does she do that? One of the first things you may notice is the amazing attention to detail that's been put into the setting and its environment, and this can be seen right from episode 1. Hold on a sec, they're eating fish and chips with shepherd's pie here? And aside from this grossly inaccurate use of American bacon, that's actually a proper full English breakfast. Are they about to go to the nearest Spoonies to grab a burger and pint? And this is the actual proper seat patterns you see on a British train. And you may think it's stupid that I'm in awe that they got the pattern of a fucking train seat, right? But it's these small little details that make this world feel real and unique. Because what would stick out like a sore thumb is having an English setting with a traditional British cottage and some chick laying down a piece of onigiri or some shit. Or even worse, seeing some madman putting a tea bag in a mug after they've poured the water. Jesus fucking Christ. The small things can mean a lot, and the same level of attention and care was given to the fictional part of the world too. See, magic and fantasy is not new to anime in the slightest. Some may even say it's become kind of oversaturated recently thanks to the abundance of shows with characters being, all together now, transported to a fantasy world. Gaming world. Wait. Which if you've seen my video on Isekai, you should be an expert on right now. And as mentioned there, this new trend has swept over the fantasy genre in anime, causing countless titles with a grounding in JRPG and MMO fantasy games. So much so that we rarely do see anything new or peculiar that really surprises us anymore. It's like the term fantasy in anime now means that we are hard stuck in some medieval themed town full of your usual NPCs playing that same chirpy RPG soundtrack loop from your nightmares, with every major character fitting into one of your usual basic classes of sword wanker, magic wanker, healing wanker, priest wanker, bandit wanker, and tit wanker, with even the magic itself being something that we fully understand. You have your typical elemental spells, fire, ice and wind or lightning attacks, a summon, mana pools, healing spells, buffs and debuffs. It's something that's become oddly familiar either through our familiarization of the games that have inspired them or through the sheer number of titles out now with this concept, which means that no matter how good the story is or new interesting spin they put on the characters, the world themselves have gotten stale. Once we start getting familiarized with all the aspects of these worlds and the systems of magic that govern them, what should be unique features within these settings for us becomes something that we are tiringly accustomed to. In other words, magic ceases to be magical. Did you like that line? I like that line. In complete contrast, Magus Bride takes inspiration from all varieties of mythologies and manages to blend them into a coherent setting. A world with fairies, dragons, magical libraries, strange giant rat creatures. Kori Yamazaki is obviously a big fantasy nerd as she tries to throw in as many little references as she can. For example, for the term SLEIGH, we can find the origins of the term as so. SLEIGH, sleigh bells, Santa Claus, Christmas, the Nativity, Jesus, Jesus's father, Joseph, Joe, JOESTAR, Joseph JOESTAR, JoJo. This is a motherfucking JoJo reference! SLEIGH is actually a reference to some really obscure Celtic folklore, where SLEIGH is a type of fairy, and when you meet this character, what was her name again? Titania? You know, the Queen of Titty Fairies. The Queen of Fairies. My save. She mentions her world of Tir na Nog, which is from Irish mythology, a name for the other world, a supernatural realm of everlasting youth. And these are just two of many that, as someone who is not too deep into fantasy like myself, it would take a lot of time to research and unpack, but you can tell how much love and care she has put into this world. The origins of a lot of these myths and tales are stories that were conjured up long ago to explain things that people did not understand at the time. And this is the exact feeling the show gives off. That's right, boys, my main man Magus Bride is bringing the magic back into magic. There are aspects about the world that are just delightful, which comes from the stories held there. One that really sticks to mind was the story of an old dragon, and honestly there's not even much of a story there. We just learn that when dragons die, they turn into trees, and we meet an old dragon close to his deathbed with a bunch of kid dragons innocently cheering him on to pass on so that he can become a tree. And you're just like, wow kids, don't you just have the most delightful view of the acceptance of our own mortality and the grim inevitability that is our death? But then that leads into this beautiful scene that encapsulates the true awe and beauty in this world of this magnificent creature passing on that is just... Did I just cry over a fucking tree? Alright kids, you are right. Why don't we all just die and turn into magnificent trees? The story of this dragon is something very simple, but it was just such a delight to see this one aspect of the world. It's comparable to some of the beauty we get to see from documentaries of our own Earth, and this is just one story to be told within this setting, which brings me to how the show makes it such a joy to explore the world, and it all boils down to one thing. Mystery. Shopper. To hammer this point down, I actually think Made in Abyss has a more straightforward example I can use. The world of Made in Abyss revolves around the exploration of the Abyss, which is essentially just a big hole in the ground that no one knows the origin of, with a bottom that's never been reached. Upon seeing this hole, you get the same question that anyone would get when stumbling on a really deep hole. How deep is the hole? What creatures can I find in it? What made this hole? But most importantly, what happens if I throw a rock in it? It's an innate curiosity that's hardwired into our psychology, meaning that your natural instinct after seeing a very, very deep hole is to throw a fucking rock in it. The same instinct that would cause a stupid kid to poke at an anthill and stick his hand in it. As we explore the abyss, you start to see stranger creatures and phenomenon in the environment, some of which we learn about, some of which we don't. But it's the sense of the mystery behind everything and discovering what they are really about that makes the setting such an interesting place to explore. Magus Bride's world also does exactly that with its inhabitants and strange phenomenon. What is the story behind this strange, mysterious black goo? Is there history behind it? And what would happen if I poked it with a stick and stuck my hand in it? The world is laden with mystery that we explore through the characters, but rather than uncovering the mystery of a plot point, we are unraveling the puzzle that is the world itself that they inhabit. As we are learning everything through the eyes of Chisei, the typical magic noob, we start off with the same grounding and knowledge as she does, allowing us to discover things at the same pace, but you get the sense that even those who have existed in the world for lifetimes longer still are nowhere near in understanding everything it has to offer. Details are mentioned that are never explained, characters have rich history that are only implied at, and rarely do we get some kind of exposition dump that explains exactly everything that we see. We are only given the information we need to be given. It doesn't feel like a world that was created for the purpose of taking us through an adventure. It's one that simply exists and has existed for a very long time. One that we cannot fully explore, filled with features nobody may ever really understand, like our actual world and universe. We are not meant to be able to comprehend everything, as the phenomenon are bigger than any one person. And while Made in Abyss uses this concept to effectively build a sense of dread through its Lovecraftian horror, Magus Bride uses this to craft a location that feels like a living own breathing place beyond our understanding, which would just be wonderful to dwell in. All this builds to create the mesmerizing atmosphere that Magus Bride has, one that really encapsulates what fantasy should be like. It feels magical, it feels delightful, invoking a sense of awe, and it's not just something that's exclusive to the anime. Many have argued that the manga has done an even better job at crafting that rich atmosphere, which I should probably mention is on Bookwalker, links below and details coming up, but from what I have read, it's also impressed me greatly. I mentioned during my first impression that I was waiting for that hook in the plot, but the more I watched, the more I realized I didn't need a hook in some plot point to grip me. What kept me coming back was just wanting to see more of the world, because that is the magic of experiencing a new world. And a new world doesn't necessarily have to mean an entirely fictional one, an alien one, or a fantasy one that is beyond our imagination. It could just mean a world outside the one you are normally exposed to. This video will probably be watched by thousands of people around the world of different backgrounds, locations, environments that you may or may not have some familiarity with. And even if we look at our own world, there are still so many mysterious, fantastical, and beautiful things that look like they belong in our imagination. And when we look at these fictional worlds with such mystique and wonder, we can forget that some of the most mysterious and wonderful things inhabit our own world already. And while I'm sure most of us are not travelers or documentary makers exploring these delightful, strange facets of our world, the true magic of fantasy worlds like these is how they can make us feel like we are. If the world of Magus Bride sounds like something you'd like to explore aside from just the anime, you can always read ahead in the manga, which I do highly recommend, which you can do so on Bookwalker using coupon code Gigguk for a discount. No giveaway this time, I just wanted to talk about a great title. They are doing a giveaway for Spice and Wolf stuff right now though for the new series that just came out, so if that interests you, you can also enter by buying the new Spice and Wolf book. Again, same coupon code, same discount. But anyway, that's it from me. I've been Gigguk and I will see you all next time.